Welcome back to another revisit of Power Rangers Dinothunder. Today's episode will be about Wave Goodbye, the third episode of the overall season. In this one, Connor starts to struggle with his own soccer practice and begins to feel reluctant about becoming a Power Ranger. This puts him in a bit of a challenge as he understands what the responsibilities are, but at the same time he has these passions, these dreams of being a soccer player. So right off the bat, we're introduced to the likes of Haley, as well as the cyberspace sort of hangout club. And it's a pretty nice scene to be in, especially considering how there's so much that's been set up. I even like the fact that, Trent even got introduced into the episode very early on, and we'll learn more about him later on, which I certainly did, considering the fact that he became an important character. But the episode mainly focuses on the fact that Connor wants to make himself a great soccer player, and generally speaking, like the way this stuff is handled with his sort of interest in that, as well as the way he talks with the coaches, was done very well, especially compared to the way modern Power Rangers does. I also like the fact that, Ethan and Kira didn't seem too busy with their own stuff, and Connor pretty much had to, in a way, have everyone else bite the dust when he was forced to leave the soccer field when he got a notification from Dr. O and Ethan that they're under attack by the Toronto drones that are going after them for stealing the Raptor eggs. So the Rangers take down the Toronto drones and get the Raptor eggs away from them. Connor returns back to the place and is told that he did not finish and is likely going to be taken out, which upsets him reasonably because, this guy always wanted to be a soccer player, and the fact that he has to balance that as well as Ranger responsibility was pretty heavy on him. At one point, he does play soccer a little bit with a little girl and her mom before they leave, and it will come back to him in a moment because near the end, he does see her again. But back to the present time, or the current part of the episode, Connor decides that he wants to talk with Dr. O about his responsibility as a Power Ranger. When he comes to Dr. O, basically Tommy's dealing with the Raptor Riders, causing mayhem in the base. And kind of funny to see him act like that. I mean, people always talk about how Tommy Oliver was pretty much, the god of Power Rangers. And if they saw scenes like this, they'd probably say, "Oh my god, they ruined Tommy Oliver! Oh my god, Green!" But, yeah, pretty annoying how that goes with the MMPR fans. But, generally speaking, after escaping from the craziness of the Raptor Riders, he decides to listen to what Connor has to say about him wanting to quit. And he understands it. He decides it's his own choice. And, I like how Tommy tells him that he understands his own point of view and, is letting him decide on what he wants to do because, Tommy Oliver was at one point in a similar role to these Rangers. They don't know about it yet, but we, as the audience, do know, especially those that saw MMPR before Dinothunder. I mean, I didn't see MMPR until after I saw Dinothunder, but part of me did get an understanding that this guy is, being reasonable with giving Connor, some time to think about it. He didn't just straight up say, "Okay, you're done," or he didn't just straight up say, "No, you stay with us." He just pretty much let him decide what he wants to do. And during all this, Connor comes back to the soccer field and decides to practice for a bit, talking with the coach. And while the coach decides to give it a thought, Connor decides it might be good to fight one last time with his friends. And, for generally speaking, it focuses on him basically making the most out of being a Ranger. And remember when I said about the fact that there was a girl that he played soccer with for a little bit? Well, he saved her life. And that sparked his interest in being a Ranger again, which he will say later on in the episode. But back to the battle between the Rangers and the monster. They chased him with the Raptor Riders, which, gotta say, kind of amusing to watch the Raptor Riders because I don't think they were used as often as the Raptor Cycles, which might make sense thinking about it because the Raptor Cycles were from a time when Disney would generally give Rangers like motorcycles, no matter how many there are, and it did allow some of the production team to do a better job with handling their own footage, so they won't have to deal too much with the likes of the constant Japanese stock footage. I mean, creativity is always great when it comes to Power Rangers. You can always use assets of Super Sentai, but I prefer when you make new stuff as well. So seeing the Raptor Riders in action felt kind of interesting. Like, I mostly remember them from the intro, as well as from the one episode where their Rangers were watching their Japanese counterparts from Marvel Ranger. And I kind of found it amusing that, Kira's Raptor was just running down the building like it had some sort of anti-gravity formation or feature. Maybe it did. I didn't pay attention. But my favorite part was just seeing the way the Rangers were using the attacks. I mostly remember Connor using the Toronto staff while riding on his Raptor Rider. And yeah, kind of crazy how that turned out. I mean, the scenes with the Alba Rangers on the Raptor Riders were generally kind of like a little more reckless compared to the Dino Thunder team with their Raptor cycles. But it was cool to see the Rangers use the Xerox blaster against the monster blows up, the Rangers fight against him, we get a Terra Ring, and they win against the fight. Going back down to the ground, Connor gives the little girl a hug because she was thankful that he saved her, and that pretty much gave concrete proof that Connor should indeed be a ranger, because he understands the fact that it's more than just a responsibility, but it's also the reward of saving others. And considering how dangerous the Toronto drones were, Connor being a hero gave him the right amount of reason to stick around as a Power Ranger. He even says this to his teams by saying, we're partners in crime in a way, when they go back to the cyberspace dimension sort of place. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, basically the place to hang out, the cyberspace place. But yeah, they pretty much decided that, they're going to be a team once again. They're a great trio, and it's all good stuff. Connor accepts the fact that he's not always going to have so much fun as a soccer player this time around, but he does prefer being a ranger now. And what I like about the fact is that he's not just, saying, thank you for changing my mind, Dr. O. I mean, it was kind of like a natural, I pretty much gave it a thought, and I might as well just stick around, or more of a case of, I pretty much find some other time to focus on that. I understand what we got to do now. It was less, thank you for changing my mind, or golly gee, now I'm going to be a good guy from here on out. Because Connor still has his own Connor personality attributes. He's not immediately a goody two-shoe, and that's something I got to give a lot of credit to with the Disney era, because they knew how to make the Power Rangers seem a little more natural. These guys are beyond the typical sort of writing style that we got from MMPR, and it says a lot, because when we look at the Neil Saban era, you expect them to be better than the Disney era in terms of writing quality, but it doesn't, which is a massive shame as someone that has seen plenty of PR seasons before Samurai. So overall, I have to say that this episode was very good. I enjoyed seeing the Rangers in action, especially seeing these days have Connor realize that there's more to being a Ranger than just a responsibility. And if you thought this episode would end off on a happy ending with Kira singing, think again, because it ends off with Tommy getting kidnapped. And that'll play into the next episode. So be sure to stick around for that when it comes up on this channel, and I'll see you next time.